Hello and welcome to episode 85 of Take a Break with me, Adam Walker, and you.
Andrew Reid
Beautiful.
of Resilient Business Systems.
How are you?
I'm very well, my friend. I've not seen you all week.
I went to Exeter.
Pardon?
Yeah. So
That's not a small trip away, is it?
yeah, when did it start? Monday I was here. Tuesday was filming in the college, and then got straight in the car to drive to Exeter.
That's a long... How long did it take?
6 hours with that, and then I was filming on farms all over England from starting in Exeter on Wednesday morning to finishing over near Leyburn yesterday afternoon. There was meant to be another one which got postponed, so it's been a week.
A few miles?
Yeah, but I got a swim in the other day, so I'm going to shout it out. If anyone's ever near Exeter, there's an open air pool.
Right.
Called Topsham Swimming Pool, and I got in touch. They run a Nutters Club. That's what they call it. That's not what me. I'm not calling them names. I was like, "Can I come down and have a swim before?" And they're like, "Yeah, absolutely." They're lovely. It's a voluntary run pool, and I was like, "Have I shot myself in the foot here because it's going to be freezing?"
Yeah.
It wasn't. It was
Wow.
lovely, and it was raining while I was doing my swimming session.
Wow.
I had a great time.
Good for you. Well
There we
done.
go.
Well
So if
done.
you ever near Exeter Topsham Swimming Pool, go and check it out. It's really
That's
good.
really good, mate. And when did you get back from...
Last night.
Last night? Goodness me. On the farm,
Yeah.
what were you filming?
Farmers,
Farmers.
cows, mainly cows. Well, all cows actually. Oh, sorry. Hang on. How did I forget? Sorry, it's been that bad. So I walk into a farm in Somerset,
Yeah.
and the client I'm travelling around with to
All
go
right,
and
okay.
do the videos for, she introduces me to the farmer as I walk in the door, and she went, "This is Ollie," and I went,
Ollie.
"Ollie, in Somerset," and I was like, "You lived in Darlington, and we'd known each other like all of my childhood,
Yeah.
and I played rugby with him locally." And then I haven't seen him for over 20 years. So I walk into this random farm in Somerset, and he was the farm manager.
No way.
Absolutely blew my mind.
Wow.
It's properly messed me up this week. I was like, she went, "This is Ollie." And I went, "Yes, it is Ollie." I was like, and he also went, he recognised me without any hair. He also went, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "I'm here to film you, apparently." So,
Small world, my
how
friend.
weird.
How weird is that?
How weird. You've got a guest with you.
Oh, we've got a lovely guest.
Yes.
Hello, guest.
Hello.
I
Hello.
do know who the guest
Exactly.
is, by the way.
But for the sake of our listener, or one of him,
No, two.
two, for the sake of our two listeners, please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Hannah Ross. I'm the MD of We Do HR and We Do Health and Safety.
Tasty
My next door
episode
neighbour.
today. Tasty episode today.
Oh, it will be. Let's get into the dirty and gossip.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
no, we can't do that. So, what does We Do HR and We Do Health and Safety do? Fairly obvious, I know, but we've got to ask the question.
That's what it says on the tin.
Yeah.
We are an outsourced consultancy, so for businesses that don't necessarily want to hire somebody in-house or want somebody in-house but not as much, then we provide HR advice and health and safety advice for them. All the documents, all the fun, boring bits that businesses don't want to do but have to do.
But have to do.
I wouldn't say. Yeah, all right. It is a little bit boring at times with all the paperwork that businesses have to do.
I think it's exciting.
I don't
I appreciate
necessarily call it. That's why I'm questioning it, because I don't. It's not boring. It's really important. I think there's a huge category in the world where you either run a business properly or you don't,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and you could apply that to whether you run it legally
Yep.
or you don't. Obviously, there's a lot of that in between, but you're here to help keep people on the right track.
We try our best.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
it's movable feast. They say dealing with people.
It's
Very
the hardest.
unpredictable.
It is.
It's the
And
hardest thing ever.
You tend to find that in times of economic uncertainty, so for example, we've had a major, without getting too political, major election, lots of changes. People don't just come in and get their head down. You tend to find they want to control something, so they start creating issues that they can control. And sometimes that's in the workplace.
Yeah, we know. It is interesting.
Yes, it is, and it's something that I've had to learn over the years in terms of what
Yeah.
my requirements are,
Yeah.
and this, that, and the other. And yeah,
I think
guidance is always appreciated.
I think with all of my friends that run businesses, yourself I include that, Adam. I think the biggest challenge with any business is keeping your staff happy, because without those, you can't grow. And without those, it causes, I wouldn't want to say it causes more problems, but you've obviously, the bigger you grow, and I've been employed by a big company, and the politics and the things that go on, you're just like, wow.
Yeah.
And obviously that's where you come in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's, sorry, just to jump in on there, to come back to that boring point. I think it's not a case of it being boring, because if you crack your HR side of things and get it right, it becomes it's kind of like you with the IT.
Yes.
Like if the IT works, it's not a problem, right? Your HR side of things works, or your health and safety side of things works, it's not a problem. It's something you've got to look after and take care of. I think the problem is people get so whipped up in running the businesses, they do label it as boring, which is not fair.
No.
Because actually, you get it right, it makes such a difference.
And it allows me to move on to the kind of strategic side of it. Once we've has everybody got all the legal bits in place? Have you got the right people in the right roles? And then it's right, what are your business goals? Because if you want to grow the business, that's going to involve people. If you want to scale back, that's going to involve people in some way. If you want to stay the same, how do we retain skills? That's a massive topic being discussed in like the Chartered Managers Institute at the moment around the 50 to 60-year-olds and how we're kind of letting them just leave.
Andy's waving. If you're listening, he's waving.
I am over 50.
And kind of like that we're not reskilling them. So, you know, if I've got staff and I've got, we've got a 40-year-old and a 60-year-old, but, you know, if they stay for 20 years and then I just let them leave at 60, I've lost 20 years worth of experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we're not designed as a world for kind of what you would class as the aging population, really.
Yeah, I think also the rate in which technology has moved in just... Hubspoke turned nine this week.
Yes, you are.
Officially
Birthday?
turned 9, yeah, thank you. I wish I was 9. It would be
I
good.
put that on your LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I did. I thought you were older than 9 years old.
Yeah, exactly.
Although you act sometimes like a 9-year-old.
Absolutely.
No.
You're right about the experience thing. I think that's a really valid point. The thing I learned in my 9 years, just to reflect on that, is when it was me, it was, right, I do kind of what I want, I suppose, and, you know, obviously within set parameters, but it was me. When I started bringing like wonderful Lena in over there, who started as an apprentice, and I was, especially on Lena's apprenticeship, I'm trying to then teach Alina what I've developed. And I was like, I remember talking to my mum about it. She was like, have you got really high standards? I was like, I've just got a standard. I was like, I don't. And it's funny how as soon as you go into the mix in the world of business, having someone else coming into it and someone else working, you've got to explain. At one point, it was all in my head.
Yeah.
And
I remember that,
Yeah. And I've learned so many lessons by just bringing other people into the business, and it's about empowering people, right? It's not, HR isn't, people sometimes see it as like a telling off tool. Yeah. Is that appropriate?
Hiring and firing,
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
So what are the other bits that are not just the hiring and firing?
Employee benefits is a big buzzword at the moment. So kind of post-COVID, that difficulty with recruitment. So businesses were desperate to keep a hold of people. So it was almost like, here we go, we're going above the statutory. So you're not just getting your 20 plus bank holidays. You're now getting 25 plus bank, or we're doing death in service, or how do we actually look at the emotional well-being of our staff, and what does that look in terms of, do we offer benefits, counselling, advice lines, that kind of stuff. The big one for me is the training, because if I'm going to, as you said, you have to then get everything out of your head and then invest that time in someone. If you're going to invest that time in them, you want them to stay.
Yeah.
So it's about giving them meaningful training as well, and not just tick box stuff. And the hardest bit for Ali as the CEO was kind of letting go, and we're still trying to get stuff out of his head. But
Have
in
you
a
tried
format,
to press? Like,
It doesn't work like that, Andy. It doesn't work like that.
but kind of in a format that everybody understands, because we've dealt with a lot of people that are fine reading stuff, but then going, actually, okay, we've got some different learners. Do we need to put stuff into training videos? Do we need to put stuff into online learning? Do we need to train them in AI? And I'm sure we'll come on to that, but that's a massive thing that's taken off, and we've all, given it a name. But there's a lot of people that are allowing their team to use it, but not training them in it.
Just go use it. Just go do it. We've spent, what people don't see in this room They walk in, they see all the kit, see Alina sat behind the table. What they don't see is the amount of time we've had to spend in this room with nobody, no guests in it, going, right, if this breaks, what do we do?
Yeah.
Like, because when we're recording, but that's why we've got 3 cameras. Because then, you know, but like if one camera went down now, hopefully Alina would know. Yeah, she's nodding. But as a director of the company, this is where I'm like looking at it going, have I covered that? Like, because I would just dive in and do it if it was me. But then I've built everything from the ground up and I've developed the concepts. I'd understand it would be different if Alina had gone, right, I'm going to create, but she's picked all the equipment and gear and networked it. And it's very different between when you set something up and then, yes. So right now I'd say we're in standard state. Alina's changing cameras as we talk, editing, she's monitoring the audio, right? That's fine. That's like just ticking away. And I suppose this is very accurate with HR. But the moment something goes wrong with a piece of kit, it's like Alina needs to try and adapt on the fly. And if she can't, she needs to tell us that, you know, that process of me trying to explain to other people on here's what we do in a crisis situation, I'd call that a crisis situation, or here's just what you do when someone emails you to say, hi, I'm interested in something. Even to the point of IT, and that's where having a trusted partner like Resilient Business Systems massively helps. Yeah.
Thank you.
No, but it's a really hard thing. I mean, I bet you see that all the time where the company director or the management is carrying everything in their head.
Yeah.
So how do you approach that then? How do you open eyes, I suppose, to what's available in the world of HR? Because like you said, it's more than just that hiring and firing.
Yeah, and unfortunately that stigma kind of still stands, and I do my best to try and remove that, because there's this thing of the company pays you, therefore you're only there for the company, not the employees. But I would rather an employee came and said, I've got an issue, and me guide them on how to best advise that and say, by the way, you've got an issue in the pipeline, then wait until it lands on the director's desk. Because then they go, oh my gosh, it's the worst thing in the world. I'm so busy, and this is, and there isn't an HR emergency, but to them it is, because it's, so it's, for me, we go in and we do all what I would call the admin, the unexciting paperwork side of it. Have you got everything that makes you legally compliant? Right to work checks in this country is a massive thing at the moment. So immigration's going into businesses and asking and checking that you have made sure your staff can legally work in this country. And then going forward from that, I'm going, right, what's your growth strategy? Okay, you've got these people here. Have you got a progression plan in place? So we do leadership development. We're looking at like a coming into management course, because one of my frustrations is you've been here 10 years, so we're going to promote you to manager because you were really good at doing what you were doing. But you were really good at doing what you were doing. You weren't really good at managing people. Yeah. And then we promote somebody, we then almost penalise them for not being able to manage their team, when actually all they wanted to do was keep doing what they started doing in the first place, because we promote them and don't give them the training.
Yeah, and that's an interesting point. I've got a few friends who have been offered management, and they've just gone, no, not interested. Because as a manager, you have, I wouldn't say a stigma, but as a manager, you're expected to do more. You are salaried, therefore you go above and beyond. Yeah. And that, what you've just said, Hannah, it hits the nail. This particular person I'm talking about, listen, I love what I do. I come in at 9, I go home at 5:30. I do not want managerial pressure.
Sounds good.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I'm off. Right. I'm off to stack shelves. But no, that's exactly what he said. He said, I'm really good at what I do. Do not pressure me. Do not put me in that position. Oh, but you'd be a really good... No, and no.
That's good, though, that they feel that they can step up and say that.
We've been in situations where we've actually demoted people and they've thanked us for it.
Well, absolutely,
because they didn't want to be
extra pressure.
Yeah.
You don't want
I think the problem is societal-wise, it's always about up and more and increasing. And I mean, the step from delivery to, like I say, so I used to work as a sports coach. I then moved into the sports development team. And the further and longer I worked in there, the less I moved, because I was working at it must be great you work in sport. I'm like, I do spend most of there was bits where but I was like, most of my time is sat at a computer, because you suddenly, it's a different kettle of fish when you've got projects to run and making sure people in the right place doing the right thing. It's
Yeah.
So I
It's all
completely
about
respect
that.
that.
But the other thing, and I will mention that we do our HR. What we find really nice is that Michelle has got proper procedures now in place. And as you know, we've got the new apprentice, Liam. I'm like Monday, day one. Right, come on, get you in the
I
computers.
came in. I saw it. Yeah.
Michelle was
He was
like,
being very nice. I
He
can
was,
report
yeah.
that.
He can report that. I was like, get him straight in at the deep end. Michelle was like, whoa, stop right there, Mr. Reed. Walk away. Right.
Where's the fire exit?
Health and safety,
Yeah.
fire exit. And she
Yeah.
spent the whole day. God bless him. At the end of it, I went, how was your first day? He went, I can't read anymore. He says, I've literally enjoyed, but as Michelle said, she went, we have to do it, Andy, because of all the right things to do and all of the things that potentially can go wrong. But you need to make that person feel we're protecting you. You're absolutely 100% protected.
Well, it's empowering them to have the information in the first place. So, like, where is the fire exit is a really valuable question.
That
Like,
nobody thinks of
no
until
one
they've
thinks
been
of.
put in that situation.
Yeah, where potentially the place is full of smoke.
Yes.
You can't see where you're going.
Yes.
You kind of need, my wife, when we first got together, we went to a hotel and we walked in the room and I jumped on the bed as you do, and she went, right, come on then. I went, what do you mean? She goes, we're going to walk the fire exit. Every hotel that she goes to,
Yeah.
she got into the habit of this when she was at school
Yeah.
and stuff. And I was like, that makes so much sense, actually. It really does, because you go to a place that you don't know and you do it. And so it was something so simple. I was like, fair point. So the other night when I was in my hotel, I was like, where's it? It was next to my door. So I was like, perfect, I can find that. But yeah, it is so often overlooked, but it's when things go wrong is when you sort of need it.
But also, I'd like to add that what we find really good from We Do HR is that they offer training. So the latest one was the harassment.
Discrimination and harassment training.
Discrimination and harassment training. Now, again, you would think that it's fairly obvious in terms of what to do and how to act and like that, but We Do gave us an amazing course, and even me and Michelle were looking at it going, I did not know that. And it is all about the government changes.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that you have to understand, and God bless, I know, I see Hannah and Alistair, they're wading through swathes of documents, and obviously got to summarise it, and then I turn up like the eager pup and go, so what do I need to know? And Hannah's going, right then, out of this 55,000 page manual, there are 20 things that you need to take away from that. And how, that's led to a really interesting question. How on earth do you condense the government masses of paper into what you provided, which was a fantastic course, but how do you cram it all in?
Lots of reading the ability of having the team is we can bounce it off each other. Obviously, Ali was a Dale Carnegie trainer. We've got Steph, who's she's a teacher by trade. So hopefully, I've got two people that are really good at training. I did my teaching award in education and teaching a good few years ago. But it's about, for me, I don't like death by PowerPoint.
No, God,
people. And this is I can read off the PowerPoint. I don't need somebody to read for me. So it's
bullet
about
point
trying
one.
to,
This is bullet point one. Bullet point two. This is bullet point two. Yeah, I know what you
trying
mean.
to get people to be engaged and be involved in it, because if they're included in it, they're learning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we come to wider performance management and development with people, what do you want to do? What are your goals? Not just, okay, as the manager, I'm telling you what I want you to achieve over the next 6 months, year, whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if they've got ownership and buy-in, they're going to hopefully take that and run with it.
Well, I think it's important. And the other thing is, at the end of the lovely presentation, we got a quiz. I'm like, hang on a minute. You mean I have to answer?
Have you listened?
Have I listened?
Yeah.
Did you get your red pen out? Teach your red pen.
See me.
No, see
honestly,
me.
But honestly, that's exactly right. And again, it was really nice because, of course, we took it seriously. Bless the lads. They all went and had an hour's training. Me and Michelle, as managers, had to stay for another hour.
Yeah.
And we got tasked and questioned about that. And again, the things that are so important is that, right, we've provided the training to you and the staff, and now you as managers have got responsibility. And obviously, bless, I do joke around, but I'm like, oh, God, can I not just slap the guys around the head? No, Andrew, that's not what you do. Okay, then. But it's really great that, genuinely, it was a good, fun course. Ali really delivered some important stuff.
Yeah.
But actually, the underlying messages I took away, I'm pleased to say I got 100% on mine.
Did you? Well
I
done.
did indeed. I did
Check
indeed.
you out.
Check me out.
I think the point is, though, some of the content can be legislation and it's heavy. It can be really heavy. So I think, the fact that you've created a way that you can deliver that in a way that, he's clearly enjoyed himself.
It was a great course, and I picked a lot of stuff up.
It's really important to get that right, because then, in fact, if you get it right, you retain the information rather than just go, there was a PowerPoint and there was loads of writing.
Yes.
Which was exactly what the person was saying, but I was more thinking about the fact that they were just saying the writing that's on the screen, not actually listening to the words or reading the writing.
It
so
was
like,
really good. It was
I
engaging.
fully respect the challenge, because how often, might be an obvious question, I think it is, but how often does all legislation change?
All the time at the moment.
Yeah. What sort of things are you seeing?
So the kind of big one in our industry, and we've got the Health and Safety at Work Act from 74, 75, tends to say the same. They just do little updates to it. With the new government, we've got a massive overhaul of the Employment Rights Act. When we moved away from Brexit, we kind of stopped using as much of the EU law. It's like GDPR changed and things like that. But they're kind of wanting to introduce the Employment Rights Bill, which, from an HR perspective, it looks like it makes it harder to get rid of people, basically. Which, in some cases, 100%, I would like people to be able to go to work and have a fair day's wage for a fair day's work, and I don't appreciate the employees that don't treat their staff well, because you're never going to get a good response from someone if you don't treat them well. But the ones that genuinely have followed the processes and ticked the boxes and gone above and beyond and still can't get rid of a difficult employee, it's going to be harder. So it's giving employees more protection.
Yeah, I've got a great story. So, Michelle, bless, for one of our customers, all names have been changed to protect the innocent. So this naughty employee called Adam.
I knew you were going to say me. I knew you were going to say me. I knew that was coming. He's going to call it Adam.
He's going to call it Adam.
Yeah, go on then.
So Michelle was in with the boss, we'll call the boss Hannah, and because it was a young company, Hannah trusted Michelle to come in and take notes. And obviously from a legal point of view, Hannah wanted Michelle in to be completely impartial, just to take notes. And Hannah basically got this gentleman in, Adam, and said, right, there's been some bullying, complaints that you are bullying people. Adam turned round and went, who from? Tell me who the effing hell they are and I'll take them apart. Michelle was just like, okay. And then the next one is that Hannah said, and you have been told constantly, because you work in a hazardous environment, to wear your personal protection PPE. And Adam turned around, listen, it's personal. It's my effing choice whether I wear it or not. Again, Michelle's just like, okay, I'm writing this down. Interestingly, the gentleman got sacked. You got sacked.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But unbelievable.
Yeah.
Honestly.
It's an interesting, there are numerous things out there, and I've worked in other jobs where I've seen different things and this, that, and the other going on. And it is, my first go-to is, what we're going to do? I'm like, go to HR.
Yes.
Because as soon as that, because, I've had it where I've brought HR in the past, and I'm like, don't panic, because they're here to make sure that I'm doing the right job. It's not about 1 and 2, me and Andy versus you, say, it's actually about, if I say the wrong thing, I'd be corrected, and it's like, no, hang on. Or I'd just go, you tell me what and that's what I think the benefit of it all is. And I think people, there's a huge amount of stigma around HR.
I was about to say, that's the word that I'm going to... When somebody sees HR, they're like, oh my God, what have I done wrong? Or,
Yeah.
But it can't be, can it? You're there for the right reasons.
I'd like to think so.
No, 100%.
We have enough clients that think so, and I think for them it's that safety again is, if you think safety is expensive, try having an accident. I believe that was the guy who now runs EasyJet.
Yes.
His dad used to have a tanker shipping company, and one of the tankers exploded and killed 8 people or something like that. So he kind of learned from that when he was setting up EasyJet. But it's true, prevention is always better than cure with whatever that is. And yes, we have clients that might not ring us very often, but then when they do, it's a big issue. But because they've got us on board, we can deal with it. And then we have others that are on the phone daily, which I also don't mind, because rather they rung for us what they think's a small thing than ring and go, it's gone wrong.
It's interpreting legislation is so hard. You know, we have it. Just to go completely separate, drone, Civil Aviation Authority. I've got all my qualifications, all of that, and I have to go through all the paperwork and registrations every year for my operational authorisation. Totally understand the requirement for all of that legislation and fully support it. The problem I have is the amount of updates that I receive relating to it.
Yeah.
And part of the issue is Civil Aviation Authority are trying to control all airspace, all craft, all right. And sometimes what I find is just absolute fatigue in like the messaging. But that's where it's great to have a HR person, in this case for HR. You know, you can provide the executive summary really quickly, having gone through. But Civil Aviation, they've changed 3 different things in the last 3 weeks. I'm like, you know, and it
must be difficult keeping up with absolutely everything, isn't it?
I mean, we have alerts and notifications and industry authorities like everybody does. You'll have them in the tech industry. It's about the nuances. So the right to work is about you're checking that they have it, and you must take a copy and write down the date you checked it. So it's little things like that where people go, oh, I didn't, It's the writing down of the date you checked it, and people go, well, I've done the check.
It's record keeping.
So it's little
quite
nuances
often,
like that. Or they've brought in like neonatal care leave, so that's additional legislation for those whose children go into neonatal care. But it's such a complex and long piece of legislation that we're trying to develop a policy, and we're looking at it, it's like 5 pages long, and we're all going, how do we truncate this down? Because nobody's going to read 5 pages. If they're in a situation where the child is in neonatal care, they're certainly not going to read it. Yeah. And they really want to know how much they can get, and what the conditions are. Yeah. So we often have to kind of write something, rewrite it, pass it around the room, right? As somebody else, what does this make sense? Oh, that's too long. How can we reword this? Because in that particular instance, there's 2 different tiers for like giving notice of when you're going to take it. And it's like, really?
So here's a question for me. Sometimes I do feel that a policy is there for a policy's sake. And I do get it, by the way. I'm not knocking this in one way. What you picked up on there is also what you said about the review of the policies. Michelle is a stickler for it, because I've been in big industries. Again, you pick up a policy, 1973. You're like, so that's never been looked at. Somebody's done the tick exercise and gone, I've got a policy, put it in a drawer. Nobody ever reads it. New policies came out, and when we got, obviously we got the dartboard, and we got the golf thing. Michelle has a health and safety policy saying you will not chuck darts at each other. You will be careful. The golf club should not be used.
Hang on. Yeah, you asked me to put an apple in my mouth and stand in front of the dart. Right, okay.
Quite. But what I'm saying is, obviously, Michelle's asked me to read it, asked me to sign it, and I've read it. But I'm just looking, going, seriously? I'm not to chuck darts at people. At what point does anybody think, I'll chuck a dart at Adam?
A lot of people.
Yeah, but imagine a moment you're angry, right, and you get frustrated. A dart just happens to be on your desk, and you throw it. You might not be aiming at anyone, but it lands.
No, but what I'm getting at is that surely sometimes people, you're using your word, and have the stigma going, really, a policy for this?
Well, I think
don't be stupid.
Please correct me if I'm wrong. Part of it is if the company, so the organisation, doesn't do anything about that, say. And that happens, they could be at risk for not telling their staff not to throw darts at people.
Yeah.
Whereas if you've got am I right? If you've got a written record of saying, Andy, stop throwing darts at people.
Sorry.
you throw a dart at somebody, it's you that's culpable and not the company. Is that an accurate reflection?
Pretty much, yeah.
But do you not what I'm getting at, Hannah, do you not think it's gone too far?
Sometimes.
The problem is how law can be black and white, can't it?
Better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah, but also on the other...
I appreciate this judgment.
On the other
fair
side,
enough,
again, a story.
It's great.
This was from 4 or 5 years ago. I remember my friend telling me, again, naughty boy Adam, honestly, you're really naughty lately.
All the time.
He basically, Adam, put a 4-way gang into a 4-way gang into a 4-way gang and basically had it over his desk whilst he was working. The manager said, don't do that. It's a health and safety risk. You'll trip, you'll hurt yourself, whatever. We cannot have... Oh, it's only for a few hours. Don't worry about it. 2 weeks later, it's still there. Yeah. And then Adam absolutely trips over the electric wire that he put there, fell over, hurt his arm quite badly, and then attempted to sue the company for damages by saying, you didn't pick up the health and safety. The boss was like, but I told you health and safety. But because he let it slip, it actually went to court. And I was just like, but that's stupid. How did he manage to get to court? And he went, letter of the law.
Yeah, because in the workplace, the employee is responsible. Now,
exactly what
now there is the nuance of an employee is also responsible for the health, safety and welfare of themselves and their colleagues.
Yes.
But in that instance, I mean, apart from the fact to me that's a failure to follow a reasonable instruction, but I would have said, okay, in 2 hours it's going. I probably wouldn't have left it there at all, and found an alternative.
Yes. So
way of doing
the whole way of getting around this is that, do you find that some laws, policies, whatever you want to call them, do they come and go based upon actions? Like the health and safety must have come from somebody doing something stupid and going, bloody hell, we better do something about that.
Yeah, but I think also it's not even someone doing something stupid. So last year I was on holiday, and as you know, the business, you never fully can disconnect. There's key things. So normally what I do is allocate points where I know that I'm going to log in and do what I need to do. If it could be run payroll, pay the tax bill, whatever it is.
That's the only reason Alina's still here, because you pay her.
Yeah, I do, don't I? Check you out. So the last year, it was when I was away, and it was like, don't worry, Adam, so-and-so's after asked for a shoot. We're going to go. And it's been really helpful. Yep. They've asked us to go up the scaffolding. I went, no, scaffolding. No, I'll do the scaffolding, because But I was like, no, because I need to put you on a working from height course.
Correct.
You're not a construction worker, and I've worked previously in building jobs and things when I've been up scaffolding. I take that risk on my own thing. But me as an employer, I'm like, absolutely not. However, am I up the scaffolding? Yes, I am. And it's a bit, it's like, that's my own personal choice. But I was like, no, you need, and I sat down team meeting, you need to be on the floor.
Yeah.
Basically, or if there's
if
there were steps and not a ladder, bit different. If it was like a walkway that's been made and this, that, and the other, and all the scaffolding was done correctly, by the way, I must add. But and it always is.
Yeah,
it always is. With the gate and all this sort of stuff, and the handrails at the right height, and this, that, and the other, it always is. But also, I've got in my van lives a hard hat, steel toe cap boots, gloves, and high vis. Yeah. Right, so it's often a bit hard when they go, you need gloves, and I'm like, I cannot operate my camera in that's the only trouble I have. So then we manage that, as we need to. But it's So they were like, I'm gonna, don't worry, we've got it. So it wasn't stupidity; it was they're really trying to help the client and take care of a job while I was away, and I had to go, no, stop.
No, but back to
the point is that they just don't know. Either because we don't, if we've never done it before, we've never experienced it or any of that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But what I also see some other people, I won't mention any names whatsoever, but they just fly in the face of it going, nah, not bothered. Like, I will just go up the scaffolding. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Nobody will find out.
Well,
that's the problem, though, isn't it?
I've equally seen companies over the years that just, that don't actually necessarily work with, but you hear of people that, I've just fired them, and this, that, and the other. I'm like, one day,
Again, it just annoys me sometimes that you absolutely follow the law because you have to, it's the right thing to do, and then you look and you go, how on earth did they get away with that? Because they haven't done X, Y, Z, and it will, that's the whole way, karma will catch them.
You'll only do it wrong once, won't you?
Yeah,
I think
we live in a more informed world where, a lot of, traditionally it used to be HR knew more than the employee did, whereas now they can go onto Google, they can go onto ChatGPT, in the nicest, I'm not anti-AI, but I am sick of receiving emails that have been written by AI, but clearly look like they've been written by AI, and don't have that. You look and you go, you don't speak like that as a person.
No,
I
get that.
I'm like, okay, but it doesn't take them much now to go and ask or go and find or go to ACAS, that kind of stuff, and go, actually, no, I think I am. I'm not in the wrong here, or go and seek advice for free as well elsewhere.
Yeah, of course.
The chat GPT stuff, I've talked about this before in our episode, but you can go to chat GPT, say, give us the latest guidance, right? And it'll cite whatever it's going to cite, and it'll give you a fairly accurate, from what I've seen on some of the stuff. Hang on, I've got a caveat. So if I just go, tell me what that says, it will pretty much tell you what it says, but you've still got to take it with a pinch of salt. If I say, tell me how I can do this whilst having to work with that, say it was like, tell me how I can advertise this way when this legislation is saying you can't do that. ChatGPT will not give you a way, it will tell you there's a way, and that's not entirely accurate. And when the client then came to me and go, right, here's what I think we can do, I'm like, it's telling you what you've asked it to tell you. Like, if you say, tell me I look good, it'll say you look good. Yeah. And it's like, tell me how I can get around this law. And that's what I've seen a couple of times where people are going, tell me how I can get around this set of parameters. Yeah. And it'll say it. And then they go, there you go, see, chat. And I'm like, that's a computer. Can I ask what you wrote? Tell me how I can.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, there's the problem. It's not telling you can't. You haven't asked it to tell you not to. If you tell it not to, so it kind of, AI can tell you what you kind of want to hear, can't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think where it's sometimes pulling from is, you've got lots of HR firms, lots of employment law firms that are potentially writing blogs and giving their opinion or their interpretation on changing laws. Well, it's going to pull that sometimes as well. Yeah. And again, that might not necessarily be
somebody
right,
could be being critical, couldn't they?
Yeah.
Could be critical of it.
Yeah. Talking of AI, have you now had to write policies? I think you mentioned it about how people should and should not be using AI in the company.
Yes. Wow. We did that last year. We did like a appropriate use of AI, and then one business wanted that they were going to allow their teams to, and another business was like, very strictly, we don't want our teams to be using it for particular parts of their role, basically.
Yeah.
So we have a couple of financial advisor firms. They're quite strict on it because of the risk around vulnerable clients and things like that.
No, definitely. We've got more and more clients coming on board and saying, I want to not use AI. I want to block, because obviously the other thing about AI is that you could put, not confidential, but, hi, I'm Adam Walker. I'm working at blah, 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 blah. You put that into ChatGPT, Google goes, thank you.
Yeah. Eat.
But you don't realise, do you?
No, and you also, when people have created images and things like this, they go, well, I've made it. And it's like, well, actually, you've got no rights over it, and anyone in the world can use it.
Yes, absolutely.
Which, I mean, the images are getting better. At first, everyone liked extra fingers and...
Well, I asked, as a joke, I asked my other half to take a picture and put it into ChatGPT of what hairstyle I would suit, and it completely changed my face. And the best thing was it also tidied up the bottles in the background.
Oh, very good.
Oh, well, that's nice.
And I was like, it looks clean and tidy, but I still don't know what hairstyle.
I had a friend who put a picture in a group photo of us, and it just turned me into a potato. Pretty much, that's how I'd describe it. Very expressionless. It's obviously what I think. I don't like ChatGPT at the moment. I've gone off it. Being unkind.
So on the subject of that, I do know that recently you purchased Microsoft Copilot from us. How are you finding that?
I like it. It's getting in the habit, I think, of, like, I will go and Google something if I'm unsure and going, okay, but actually we can Copilot ask it instead, and just kind of getting into that habit of, and I would never have it completely write contracts but it helps with, can you review this? Is it up to date with the legislation? Is there a better way that we word stuff? So a couple of agreements we've kind of played around with and looked at it, and also from like a business strategy point for me. So asking it, okay, if you're a business coach, what 10 questions would you ask me to help me scale up the business? So little things like that I thought, actually, maybe we should use it. Not necessarily just to... And I think what's happening is people are using it to do less work rather than make themselves more efficient. Whereas I would rather make myself more efficient because there's always going to be a load of work to do. But potentially getting it to ask questions that I'm not my own business coach. I'm also sometimes my own worst enemy. So having somebody or something asking alternative questions.
Really good
I use it for like that idea generation type thing. Not just give me the idea. It's like I've come up with a concept. Here's sort of things. What considerations should I be making, or something like? And sometimes it just pulls in some really interesting left field sort of thinking that you just wasn't on your radar, and you're like, actually, yeah. So,
have you thought of a marketing campaign where you replace your head as a potato?
Because I've got just the image.
I've got just the image for you.
Saying that, Adam has been used because Copilot's now on some of the stuff in there.
Yeah, the free version.
Yeah, the free version, and he keeps going, wow. I'm like, what? And he's like, I just used Copilot to go through this document, and like, you know, and he's like singing the praises of it. We need to sort Copilot.
We do. We keep saying we do.
Yeah, we just.
I know that you and Ali have got it, and obviously one of the things that we did, I went in and did a big 2-hour demonstration. I won't say what we did, but we utilised Copilot because I just got bombarded. Ask it this, Andy. Do this, Andy. Ask it this. Can it summarise this? Can it do that? I think what was nice is that obviously they purchased it, but you were saying, Hannah and Ali were saying, is when you ask it to do something like summarise this, do this. Obviously, as you've just said, like, if the document's already there, all it's doing is it's condensing it into whatever.
Yeah, and it's not making the document
It's not making the document up, but I think what was really nice is that a particular example is I got provided by a letter. They put it into Copilot, and they asked 10 questions out of it that you'd already done the hard work, and I think it was a good 10 out of 10. And it was like, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. And they'd already done the hard work, but as you say, Copilot can only work on the information that's there.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the biggest key problems I have. People are just asking it and going, there's my answer. And I'm like, no. All it's doing
I liken it to a calculator.
Yeah.
Right? So, you know, you come up through school and we had, back in my day, we had a calculator exam and a non-calculator exam. Yep. That's how they approach that. How often do I use a calculator? Yeah. Most of the time.
Most of the time.
Yeah. Like, it's not cheating.
No.
It's a tool that you have, and I suppose I liken it to. It's like saying TV. We've got the TV here. It's like going, no, I'm not going to use the TV remote.
No,
I'm going to physically walk over and press the button. I mean, they don't even have buttons half the time anymore.
No, they don't.
You know, so it's like I think the problem. I think the step is though so massive with AI and what it can do. It feels like a huge, but in some regards, I see it very much as like your TV remote, your calculator, those extra things, cruise control on a car, right? Yeah, do you see what I'm getting? Those sort of different things. No one's driving along, you know, the brake assist and ABS. No one's going, no, I don't want my ABS to work as I slam my brakes on in the rain because I'd actually rather plow into the pile of car, you know, like, So I think it's understanding that where it sits in society. And I think the problem is at the moment, everyone's going to lose their jobs. And it's like, no, it will. Efficiency, I think, is a really good way to
work smarter, not harder.
Yeah, because what happened to the people in typing pools when computers came in?
Yeah.
Yep.
They reskilled and they went and did other jobs, or they used the computers in their jobs. And I think it's just about making sure the training's in there. It is only as good as the information we feed it and the questions we ask it. And what's happened is they've gone, right, let's use AI. It's blown up massively. And off you go. And people are going, okay, well, I might ask it this. Okay, well, that answer's not right. Or I'll ask it this and I'll take that as absolute truth. And then, so I wouldn't say challenged, but we're getting almost questioned more than we would, because a client might ask ChatGPT to do a holiday calculation, but then ask us to also do it and then go, we're wrong, when actually the information they've put into ChatGPT it's giving the wrong answer.
Copilot, ChatGPT, it can only work with
I think this is it. It's trying to go to ChatGPT for an answer.
Yes.
I think that's the challenge.
Yeah.
When people go to it for an answer, it's not necessarily the right answer. If you go, here's a document, summarise that, that's a very different mentality.
The example that I've got is, if you remember, we had Stuart Train, Bridgewater.
Yes.
I was demonstrating Copilot to Stuart the other day, and basically, string of emails, I asked Copilot to summarise email, which was correct, and it did that perfectly. I then said, based upon this email, did a training meeting occur? And when is that training meeting? And Copilot went, you hadn't scheduled a training meeting. And I laughed and I went, see, Copilot gets it wrong. And I went, Copilot, you are incorrect in this because I actually know there's a meeting. Please go and find me the date and time. It actually went away and it went, you are absolutely correct. I made a mistake. I apologise. And here is the date, the time of the meeting. So again, what you were saying is that how can somebody go, no, you're wrong. You're 30 years of experience, ChatGPT's right.
So you've pushed, I love how you've pushed back and it's apologised to you.
It's really nice.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry.
I'm going to go and hide in the kitchen for a minute.
So how do you use technology to cope? Because 20 years ago, it must have been a little bit easier. And then obviously with the new policies and everything, as you said, it's changing daily. How do you use the technology, Copilot, computers, whatever, to keep on top of all of this deluge of changes?
I mean, we obviously subscribe to several. So CIPD is one of the leading authorities in the HR world. The HSE is obviously pretty much the leading authority in UK health and safety. Computer-wise, I look at even pre-COVID how much paper we were using.
Wow.
Or we were kind of already set up to remote work and things like that, but we use Monday.com, so bringing that in for the automation so that all of the team can communicate better. Steph's just done a part of her uni course was on like sustainability within an organisation. So we use DocuSign. We didn't use it pre-COVID, but being able to send a contract to the manager and the employee, they can look at it on the phone, sign it. We're also getting a copy back because it's always that thing of somebody rings with an issue and then I go, okay, how long have they been with you? Oh, let me just have a look. Well, I can go in and I can do it. Yes. Or they go, oh, we never got the signed contract back. And I'm like, okay, well, you can't enforce these clauses specifically because there wasn't a signed contract. So
this is where the person goes, so we don't have to pay them either. And you're like, no, you still have to pay them.
Well, some of it's like you're working to the terms, but you know, for example, if you were going to deduct wages off somebody for stealing something or not returning something post-termination, it is harder to enforce if you don't have that signed. So
you signed yours, right, Alina? No, I know you did.
That's when the tick boxes and stuff like that come in. But even just being able to do that and it, DocuSign actually gives you figures. So it's something like 52,000 sheets of paper we've saved over 5 years.
Goodness me.
Stuff like that.
Jeez.
It's insane because obviously that pulls and says based on how many envelopes you've sent digitally, but we're just printing far less. We use Breathe HR. We're a partner with that out to our clients. So it means particularly in a techie world, which we are now, when I find a client that still uses holiday paper request forms. So, Adam, I want holiday. I'm going to give you a paper request form that gets stuck on your desk or in the bin.
I would absolutely lose that.
To now going, okay, well, type it in. I can see who else is off at the time before I even request it. Yeah. So I know if it's going to be approved or not. Send that. You get an email. You click on it and you can see when everybody else is off and go yes or no. And it's all digitally logged. So we use it internally. We try and get most of our clients on it because things like that just make life easier. But that that moves away from your handbook is printed in a binder in the office to, well, all the company documents are on there. Oh, and you have to read them and click to say you've read them. So it helps with the compliance side of it. But also, if they have a question about maternity, for example, because they're thinking of getting pregnant, they don't have to go and ask somebody about it.
Yeah, they can see.
And that manager's then going, all right, okay, so you're going to get pregnant. And unfortunately, people still do, oh, well, I'm not going to put her on training because she's asked about maternity. Well, that's discrimination. Whereas actually they can just go and look online without but they're looking on their company's documents.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I suppose that makes a lot of sense. So it does make, it is helping.
It's providing more accessibility. So for me, a lot of clients traditionally were, well, we don't want them to have the information. That's not kind of what they were saying, but I would rather give them more information because at least they're then looking in the right place. So, and we're going back 10 plus years now. A client rang quite distressed because the employee had said that they were legally entitled to 2 weeks bereavement leave. And she's going, we didn't know this. We can't afford 2 weeks off and all of this stuff. And we're sat there going, no, they're not. No, they're not. And gone onto Google and it had been like law in New Zealand. So
See?
they've gone and they've found the incorrect information.
Yeah. But that's where
So
you,
we have the same. We had the same then as we do now with
it's the same. Yeah,
with artificial
same.
intelligence, and you tend to find what would they be classed as, the Gen Zs? They will use AI rather than Google. I'm still in that. I'm going to go Google something.
exactly.
Or TikTok.
phase.
Oh, TikTok.
Come in the room dancing.
But it's fine as long as they don't take it as rule.
Yeah.
And that's I think where we end up with this. I don't agree. Therefore, you're wrong because I was told by.
I think though transparency around like having access, like accessibility to documentation, this that, and the other, is so important because they feel bought in. Surely the staff, like everyone that comes through Hubspoke doors that wants to work with us, I want them to feel bought in, and it's information that I have to provide. I'm not going to hide it.
Exactly. But the point that I'd like to make, Anna, is that surely, as a HR company, for that particular company that rang and, oh my gosh, stuff like that, that's where you're worth your weight in gold.
Yeah.
Because the employee was like, well, I demand my 2 weeks bereavement that I'm allowed. The other company's going, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But you just stepped in, saved the whole argument. They've not been bad, as in the employer. The employee is going, oh, right, sorry.
Yeah.
Issue gone. That's where you're gone. And obviously the employee's going, oh, thank you. Oh, my God, thank you. But that's
I think there's a difference, though, coming in saying I'm entitled to.
Yeah.
It's like, whereas if you just go, we've lost somebody, there's a conversation there, right?
Yeah.
And
It doesn't always have to go full HR belt and braces, does it? You can actually still very much have a conversation.
And depending on who it was, so in this country there isn't a standard bereavement kind of pay, but that's something that they're trying to bring in, and I'm for it because if you lose a partner, so the only entitlement is if you lose a child.
Yes.
If you lose a partner, for example, or a close relative, we would say, well, it is discretionary, but 1 to 2 weeks paid leave. It's one less thing they have to think about. And most people don't want to be in the workplace. But if they do, great, but keep an eye on them. So that's when the kind of the holistic and the tea and sympathy side of HR comes out.
Yeah.
Which isn't just the there, here's some tissues, but it's the, you all right?
Yeah.
So we've had
Grow up, Adam. There you go, mate.
but we've had a staff
Get back
member
to work.
where, not our team, but for a client where he's had a bereavement within his family, and then he said, right, can I have a couple of days off? And then he's come in, and the boss has gone, do you want longer off? And he's going, no, I want to be in.
Because it takes my mind off.
Yeah, and it's like some, long-term sick. Sometimes the best place for somebody to be, if they're suffering with depression, for example, is not sat at home by themselves thinking how depressed they are. It's about trying to reintegrate them back into the workplace.
Yeah. It's thought-provoking, and I'd like to think that the majority of the time, common sense kicks in. You've had a bereavement, please take as long as you want off. As long as you don't take the proverbial, like 6 months later, are you coming back into work? But no, I get it.
That individual called Adam as well.
No, to be fair, he wasn't. But at least what I'm getting at is at least you're there.
Yes.
So you're always there, and again, you can say it's discretionary, it's up to you. We would advise, and again, as you've already said, having somebody to actually talk to say, and me and Hannah won't say anything of that, but we had a chat the other day because I had a particular thing, and I'm like, how do I approach this? And it was on behalf of another particular customer. Went into Hannah, and Hannah gave great advice. Yeah. I was just like, actually, I went away to that client. I told them what I thought my best intentions were, what I thought they should do, and they've actually come back and said, great. Thank you very much for that, Andy. Very supportive. I wrote back to Hannah and said, just to let you know, perfect. Thank you for that advice. Yeah. Just having somebody
Sometimes
there.
we're a sounding board.
No, exactly. That's what I'm getting at.
I think there is you're the boss, therefore you're earning lots and you've got all this freedom. And there's that saying of like, I didn't want to work a 9 to 5, so I became my own boss, and now I work 24/7.
Yeah. Yep.
But it is lonelier the further up you get.
Yeah.
Like you can't go and talk to your employees about another one of your employees being difficult. So quite often
I don't know, Alina. We do that about... No, we don't.
So sometimes we are just that sounding board, and some of them will ring and be like, I just want a rant. Right, don't repeat that. And I'm like, well, obviously I'm not going to repeat it because that completely just gets rid of my entire professional integrity. But we have them where they go, right, we've been working with you long enough. This is what I think I need to do. Is that correct? Yes. Okay, great. I'm going to go and do it. And we, we've had people where they've come on and said, well, I've spent 4 hours looking for this. And I'm like, okay, well, had you rung it in the first hour, I would have given you it in 4 minutes. And that's not devaluing me. That's because I've got several years experience in it. But it could have saved you 4 hours.
Yeah.
So like, we use Resilient for our IT because it saves me time because I don't have the staff going, I can't do this, I can't get on that, or the internet's down or whatever it is. I can't access Teams. I go, speak to Andy because it's 100% of your business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you won't know. You're too busy doing all this stuff.
And also, I don't want to do
exactly.
it.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
But,
I've got the funny thing that I've got at the moment is I do have some customers ring me, and you're right, sounding board, where they're just going, and it's either about probably about their own suppliers or customers, and I just laugh and I just go, no, that's really great. You do realise these calls are recorded for blackmailing purposes. Oh God, no, I'm joking.
They're not.
It's joking, but it's a good laugh in terms of that.
So why are you asking me leading questions on the phone?
Absolutely. So who's your supplier?
Yeah.
So coming to the end of this, where do you see... You've obviously been in this game, bless you, a long time, even though you don't look as though you have. But moving forward in terms of speed, me and Adam often talk about the Moore's Law, like it gets faster and faster, more rapid. You've obviously seen that.
Yeah.
And how do you think the next 5, 10... Because everybody that I talk to, and I'm not political at all, but everybody I talk to is like, the UK is in an absolute shambles.
Yeah.
But I'm going... We brought them in. It's whatever it is.
It's been up and down for the last few
years. We
years.
have a system. It is what it is.
Exactly. It is what it is. But what I'm getting at is that it must be getting faster and faster and more difficult. Where do you see HR even going in 5 to 10 years? Because it's already fluid.
I think it's going to go significantly towards more of a strategic role. So. Right. We have systems in place that can do the admin side of HR now, realistically. We have some great admins, and a good admin is worth their weight in gold, but they're using tech to make their life easier. So, which is what I want them to do, because I think the traditional concept of an admin typing everything out by hand and doing that is moving away in every industry.
Yes.
But there's been an article in the CIPD about how HR should have a seat at the board table.
Ooh, wow.
And it's about that. How do we help you in your strategic decisions deal with the people?
Interesting stuff, that, isn't it?
Because we're going to have businesses where they might downsize, and we have had quite a few redundancies over the past kind of 6 months to a year anyway, because of various economic issues, is trying to kind of encourage them to retrain these people and put them in different roles rather than just getting rid. Somebody with long service redundancy is expensive anyway. So I think it's going to be more about how you retain your workforce but reskill them, focusing more on the training and development side of keeping people, because I think we have such a risk of losing knowledge the older people get, because we're allowing them to just leave without retaining that knowledge.
Yeah. Interesting, isn't it?
And that's and a lot of that by knowledge, I mean not the stuff you can get on Google, the intrinsic stuff, the people skills and all of that, we are going to lose if we don't find a way to tap into that person's head or upskill them or retrain them. And kind of I'm trying to shift employers into saying, okay, we need to be not involved in your strategic decisions, but at least aware of them.
Yes.
I don't want to be blindsided by the way, we're making a load of redundancies. And the meeting's tomorrow, because I can't help you prepare for that because you haven't even given them the right amount of notice.
Yeah. I think I read this morning that New Zealand have just raised the retirement age to 70. So again, there's another thing. I mean,
there you go.
It's getting there, because
no one's going to be marching into work going, I demand that I retire when I'm 70.
But people are living longer, so they're more compos mentis, for want of a better word, longer. And to turn around and say somebody's going to retire at 67 because they've hit an age when they're more than capable of continuing. And also, we can't afford to retire earlier necessarily.
No.
We have to find ways of keeping a hold of these people.
Yeah. To be fair, I've calculated that if I retire now, I can actually live comfortably till next Tuesday.
I'm tea time.
Touche, Adam.
Yeah.
So what's the final bit about, we always wrap it up. How can people get hold of you? What's the best way to contact you? What's your website?
Okay. Our website's currently undergoing a little bit of a revamp.
Very nice.
Yeah. So we're splitting them. So rather than a group, we're splitting them for SEO purposes. So you can get us on the website, wedohr.co.uk, phone calls, emails, all of that fun stuff.
Good.
So
well, there we go.
if they
Exciting.
email us,
It's
know.
been,
I've really
actually
enjoyed
in
it.
depth. That I didn't think it would go as in depth. That's been a fascinating insight.
I'm keen that people see HR for what it
absolutely
actually is, and it's dealing with people, talking to people. It's not a hire fire. I like the way you summarised
was
that.
nice.
Yeah, I think it's really important, and it'd just be good to see more businesses doing it right. I think it's a really important.
Everybody
part.
wants to do it right.
Yeah.
And hopefully, Resilient have been going 20 odd years this year. We've never had to invoke a HR, yet we've still got a HR partner, trusted partner, because we have to think changes, the sexual harassment, discrimination, all of that type of thing.
Throwing darts in the office.
Throwing darts in the office. I'm not allowed to do that. What was quite good is we read all of that, the policies about throwing darts and stuff like that. And Liam, bless him, he's becoming one of us. I walked back to Michelle and I went, has Liam read these yet? And she said, not yet. So I took the folder and gently hit him on the back of the head and went, "Oi, read this." Michelle's like, "Have you?" And I was like, "Sorry." Obviously laughed about it. It's important.
And as you walk back to your desk, a dart.
But as I say, even as a small company, we were reflecting yesterday, we've now, for the first time, got 5 employees. We've never had that before. So we're growing, but having all of, even though I'd like to say in the 20 years I've never had to involve HR, the fact that we do is because it's the right thing to do, and you're always there for advice, for guidance, that sounding board. Because I'm just saying it's the right thing to do.
Don't just use ChatGPT.
No. The only good thing is that Eddie, bless him, was like, "So this sexual harassment thing, Andy?" I went, "Yes." And he went, "I've just seen you do something to Michelle." I went, "Yeah, it's fine."
They are married.
They are married.
Just before we go down that route, anyone? Yeah.
But it was really good because he went, raised a complaint with HR, and I went, "Michelle, HR?" She went, "I didn't mind." I'm like, "There you go, Eddie."
They are married.
So we always end the episode. Well, first of all, thank you so much. That's been really, really, really positive. And
Yeah,
insight.
it's really good.
But we always end the episode with what you doing for the weekend.
Long weekend this week. Long weekend. Any big plans?
I have decided to put myself out my comfort zone, and I'm doing a show jumping competition on Sunday.
Yeah,
So-
whereabouts?
No idea.
No idea.
So
That's how much
it's
it
been organised
comes
by the yard, and provided he loads on the trailer. So we'll see what
So we didn't
happens.
even mention that, but you love your horses, don't you?
Yes, I do. I've been riding since I was 7. So
Yeah. Oh, well, enjoy.
Enjoy with that.
Good on you for doing that. I love that. That's great.
Yeah, but she mentioned it when she would come down the stairs. I was like, "You did what?"
the
No
anxiety's
idea why I
pretty
did it.
high.
But got to be done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Got to
We
make
have to put
self-serve
ourselves outside of our comfort zone every so often.
We do.
every so often. Yeah. I wouldn't
Maybe.
even go near a horse, bless them. I love them. Look, beautiful, majestic creatures, but I'm like, no. It's not my thing at all, riding. What about yourself, my friend?
I'm off to Scarborough.
Oh, Scarborough.
Scarborough. Yeah,
What
to
are
the
you doing
beach.
there?
We are heading over for the weekend in the caravan.
Oh, very nice, my
So,
friend.
yeah, so I am literally bundling the family into the car.
Today?
Yeah,
Oh,
and
yeah.
we are cutting loose and going for it.
Because
Because I need a bit more driving at the end of my week.
you took the words out of my mouth. Have you not had enough drive?
No, yes, I have. But yeah, so we're off there. So
Alina, can you make sure he puts a full shift in and he doesn't sneak away early?
absolutely not happening.
No, absolutely not happening.
No,
Oh, well, that's good.
I booked this afternoon off. So
All right,
Yeah,
okay then.
yeah,
So then you're coming back
going.
Monday?
Actually, we're staying a bit longer.
Hang on a minute. Who
Wednesday.
authorised that?
I had a word with the boss.
I'm going to be speaking to your HR department.
I had a word with ChatGPT, so it was fine.
Can I legally, as the owner of the company, have as many holidays as I
Yeah,
want? Yes,
I mean
you
the
can.
amount of hours I've done this week, it's fair enough. I
It's
think.
fair enough, mate.
What about you, sir?
Sunday is a family barbecue.
Nice.
Yeah, the first one of the year, because apparently we are heading in for some bad weather
yeah.
today, tomorrow, but Sunday it's going to be better. So, yes, first barbecue of the year. So that'll be quite nice. And then Monday, just inviting my father around, 81 years old. You know it's bank holiday weekend, Dad? No idea. You didn't know it was bank holiday when we asked you the last time, and the last time before that. I just take each day as it comes down.
Yeah.
I went, fair enough, Dad. You deserve well.
Oh, I'll enjoy that. That
No,
sounds
exactly. So hope everybody enjoys their bank holiday weekend.
great. Yep, absolutely. Take care, everybody.
Cheers. See you later. Bye.